So let's talk about investment banking. It's this world of super high stakes, incredible rewards, and, just insane competition. For a lot of people, it really does seem like this impossible fortress or a crazy complex maze. But today, we're handing you the map.
Yeah, a career in finance can absolutely feel like one of those twisting labyrinths, with dead ends and all these hidden paths. But here's the thing, just like any maze, it can be solved. You just have to understand its layout, and that's exactly what we're going to do right now.
First things first, before you even take a step inside, you have got to understand the scale of the challenge here. The entrance to this maze is, well, it's pretty heavily guarded, and the competition is fierce. Just how fierce, you ask? Let's just look at the numbers.
Take a good look at this number, 0.7%. That was the acceptance rate for internships at Goldman Sachs just last year. We are talking less than one person for every 100 who applied. Just let that sink in for a second.
And to put that into perspective for you, it is literally harder to get an internship at a top investment bank than it is to get into Harvard. So the message here is crystal clear. You need a strategy. You cannot just wander into this maze and hope for the best.
Okay, so to build that strategy, you first need to understand the landscape. What does an investment bank actually do? I know it can seem incredibly complicated from the outside, but at its very core, it's actually way simpler than you think.
Look, if you strip away all the jargon and the complexity, investment banks really do two main things. First, they help companies and even governments raise money. The capital they need to grow and operate. And second, they advise on these huge strategic moves, like buying another company to expand their reach. That's pretty much it. Everything else kind of builds from those two pillars.
All right, let's learn our first piece of insider language, M&A. This stands for mergers and acquisitions, and it's the part of the bank that handles that second core function we just talked about, advising on the buying, selling, and merging of businesses. Simple enough, right?
And on the other side of the coin, you've got capital markets. This is where banks help clients raise those funds. So you'll hear about ECM, which is equity capital markets. That's for raising money by selling shares of the company, stock. And then there's DCM, debt capital markets, which is for raising money by borrowing through bonds.
And finally, there's the third major piece of this puzzle, sales and trading. Once all those stocks and bonds are created, someone's got to buy and sell them, right? This is the super fast-paced, market-facing side of the bank, making trades for clients and managing the bank's own investments.
Okay, so you get what the bank does. But where do you fit in all of this? Well, to answer that, you really need to understand how the roles inside a bank are structured. They're traditionally broken down into three main areas, and knowing this is absolutely key to finding your path.
First up, you've got the front office. These are the jobs we were just talking about. M&A, capital markets, sales and trading. They're the ones dealing directly with clients, and they're responsible for generating the bank's revenue. So it's probably no surprise that these are the most sought after and, the best compensated roles.
Then you have the back office. Honestly, think of this as the engine room of the entire bank. These teams handle all the critical operational work, like making sure trades are settled correctly and all the firm's systems are running. It's absolutely essential work that makes everything the front office does even possible. And connecting those two is the middle office. These roles are the essential bridge, managing the risks the front office is taking and making sure the bank is complying with all the regulations. They work super closely with the deal makers and traders to make sure everything is, sound.
But it's really important to know that this traditional structure is changing. As one senior banker put it, technology is just blurring all those lines. The strict separation is kind of becoming outdated. Today, it's much more about everyone, tech, risk, bankers, all working together to get things done.
So what's the trade-off for getting one of these super coveted jobs? Let's be real, the rewards are huge, but so are the demands. Just take a look at the breakdown of compensation versus the actual working hours.
And this data from 2024, wow, it tells a really clear story. Look at a classic front office role like M&A, average pay of over $420,000. But look at the average work week, almost 68 hours. Now compare that to a crucial support role in technology, still a fantastic salary, but with a much more manageable 53-hour week. It's the classic trade-off, right? Time versus money.
All right, you understand the competition, you know the roles, you see the trade-offs. Now for the most important part, the playbook. How do you actually get one of these jobs?
Well, there's a very well-trodden path, and believe me, it starts a lot earlier than you might think.
Here it is, the single most important rule. If you take away only one thing from this, let it be this. Forget about applying for a full-time job right after you graduate. The game is almost always won a full year earlier. Your entire focus needs to be on securing an internship, period.
So here's the timeline, the university playbook. In your first year of school, you're going to apply for these short, week-long things called spring internships. That's your foot in the door. That experience helps you land the big one, the 9 to 12-week summer internship after your second year. This is basically your extended job interview. If you do well, you'll get a full-time offer before you even start your final year.
And that is the ultimate goal. The entire purpose of that big summer internship is to convert it. That just means impressing the team enough that they give you an offer to come back as a full-time analyst the second you graduate. That is how you win the game.
So, you've seen the competition, you know the territory, and now you have the secret route in. The path is clear, but it's going to demand a ton of preparation and focus. You now have the map, so the only question left is, are you ready to enter the maze?